There you go. Yay.
Hello. I'm sorry it took some time.
No, it's okay. It's okay. You didn't but I said it's all
All
right.
right.
You know, at the end of the
All
day,
right.
we're working on different time zones, so I understand what you're
Exactly.
there. And I'm not with three AXA family, but I won't go into your family. But yeah,
Right.
it's not easy, Dal. But thank you for making
It's
time
not.
for us. Or for me.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you for making time
I'm
for me.
happy
I'm
to
very
be.
selfish with this because it's my story. It's my first successful story.
I
So,
know.
so how are you, my love? What you been up
I'm doing
to?
great. I'm doing great.
Introduce yourself.
Alhamdulillah.
I've already tried, but introduce yourself. I'll give you a couple of minutes and then we'll just jump into the story. Uh,
Okay. All right. Assalamu alaikum. Manglen Nuyu Dilan Santa. Manla Jaina Bajuf. I'm born in Gambia, raised halfway Gambia and America. But I'm so happy to be on the show. When Chat reached out, I was very happy, and I've been wanting to tell my story, and she has given me a platform to do so. So thank you very much, Chat.
Welcome. First and foremost, I really want you to just relax. Imagine there's nobody else watching this because
Yeah, like I'm filming a YouTube video, right?
exactly. They're doing it for the Watan. It's nothing. It's nothing.
I know.
I don't like solid shows. So this is the whole
Yeah,
point of all of this. I'm like, you know what? Let me just start something Lohamne people can actually relate to, and positive stories can be told about Gambia and things like that. So,
okay.
like I said over the phone when we first spoke, a lot of Gambians.
Chat,
Hmm.
I'm sorry to disturb, but some people are saying that they're not able to see the video. So
Not.
is it on Facebook Live?
It is. It's on Facebook Live.
Because they're saying,
It is.
would it show on my video as well?
Yeah, I could probably try and share the link. Hang on, let me share the link for you. Keep talking,
Okay.
keep talking. So a lot of people
Okay.
in Gambia obviously have a stigma
Hmm.
and a negative perspective on adoption.
Hmm.
And I think the most heartwarming part of your story is you grew up adopted, but you know you grew up loved. Your
Right.
narrative is different compared to other people's narratives.
Right.
Could you just like enlighten us on what was like? How did you find out first and foremost?
Okay. So I won't, go into detail with my parents, but obviously they were having infertility issues, so they decided to adopt.
Mm-hmm.
So my father reached out to someone in the adoption agency, or actually he was asking around if they knew of any agencies where they can adopt a child. And back then it wasn't too common, but he was then referred to some doctor who then referred them to an adoption agency. So they got signed on. It took about 6 months to actually, as far as like the waiting process and going through all the background information. They asked them questions like, were they working, stable at home, and stuff like that. So after the 6 months, one day they just got a call and said that there's been a child, that abandoned child, that's been found. She's at the hospital. Well, they didn't even know the gender at first. They were like, the baby's at the hospital. So my mom said she almost dropped the phone. She couldn't believe it. So they both were like so excited. They drove to the hospital as soon as they heard of the information, and saw me, and she wanted to take me home right then and there, but they told her I would have to be in the hospital for another week just for checkups, health wise and stuff. So once they waited for that, it took about a week after them seeing me, and after two and a half weeks, I was able to be adopted and brought home. My mom, she was just so excited. My dad, he was a little worried that his mother wouldn't quite understand, but she said the minute they got home, she took me in her arms and started, she's fulla, so she was starting, hey, Nana Bobo, and all this stuff. So She said, Jarama, Jarama, and
Oh,
just started praying on my head and massaging me and stuff. So immediately it was like, I don't want to sound cliche, but it was like love at first sight. Like it was
it's
just
not
something, they
cliche. It's not
felt a
cliche.
connection.
It's not
Yeah. So
cliche.
I just want, I'm telling my story to let other people know that it's not like Chat said, it's not all bad. Um, Fortunately, I was able to be adopted into a wonderful family, respected family. They raised me right. As
That's
Chat
all,
know,
man.
we were in the same
Everybody black has
neighborhood.
been raised right.
Exactly. No, yes, of course, but um, being adopted, they might think, oh, they might treat you different, but I never was treated different. My dad later along had his own, biological kids as well, but we were all treated equally. Like we all got in trouble, we all got, our little spankings
Thanking,
and
yeah.
stuff like that. So yeah, um, it was just, it's a wonderful experience, but I do want to touch on, there were some, just adjusting to, because it was so taboo to adopt at that time. Um, going to like the Marse or wherever, I had to kind of like, people, I would get the stares, we would all get the stares, but growing up, we got used to that. As soon as my mom, she told us at a very young age. So I like how she sat us down and she was like, okay, she told us our story and how we came about, because she knew there would be questions, and she raised us to be strong enough to be able to explain to other people that didn't understand what
Mm-hmm.
adoption was.
Mm-hmm.
Because the Marys and stuff, they'll be like, hey, Anasayai, like,
Can I
where's
say?
your mom? Like, she's not your mom, or something like that. So, or they'll tell my mom like, oh, go take her back to her mom or something. So they just didn't understand. But it wasn't too bad.
Mm-hmm.
The struggles I had the most was with language. So it's embarrassing to say I'm not fluent in any of the languages, but I do like, I can speak to where I can hold a conversation in Wolof
Yeah.
and Fula. Mandinka, if you speak to me, I understand, but
Yeah,
it's
makan
a
ya
struggle.
sabuluan isa.
But but yeah, so mangi try like suma all of
Yeah,
lerut,
no, no,
but
no, 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 no.
you
Honey,
know,
from when you said Maggie try, no, there's no
yeah.
possible way that you know I am. But how? But
No,
what
but
I wanted to go into was how did you feel? Like you mentioned, you were told at a very young age. How?
right,
What was the first? Do you remember the first emotion that you felt when your mom told you? Because a lot of people go through life
hmm,
being adopted, and their
right,
parents or their legal adopted parents or caretakers or whatever, they don't feel the need to tell their kids until they grow up.
right.
Yeah, yeah, get
And
out.
I'm so glad that they told us at a young age, because I, of course, had a lot of questions. I'm like, well, where's my mom? Why did she leave me? Like, what do you think happened? Like,
She's
at
mad.
first,
Mm.
I didn't quite get it until I started to get 6, 7 years old. She would actually tell us the story almost like every year, just to So yeah, you were, or if any incident happened, she would sit down and be like, well, you were adopted, this and that. But from what we know, I mean, we don't know, as far as my background history. Um, all I know was, I was like, well, I mean, if she didn't want me, she missed out on a great girl. Like,
Of course.
that's her loss, not mine.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I was so loved that I
It
kind
didn't
of just,
matter.
it didn't really matter. Like, I was treated like, I came out of her, so it wasn't a major factor. And still, until I started growing up, and then just the different languages. I learned English first instead of like Wolof or Mandinka or Fula.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why it was kind of hard down the road. But um yeah, I'm glad she sat us down. She was very open with us, and she just kind of explained adoption, and she would show us books like other children being adopted.
Mm-hmm.
She also had a close friend that had adopted, and they came to visit us. So we were very open at a very young age.
Mm-hmm. So going back to when you were younger, because
Hmm.
I know Bakau is such an amazing be a very dark place. It can also be a very negative space. Um, um, a couple of weeks ago, I was talking about growing up in an environment where you're bullied and you've got peer pressure and things like that. Um, uh, what I know your family were very close and they were loving and everything else, but what about the neighborhood? Because I know you live straight,
Yeah.
like you live up the street from me, and I was getting some kind of
Mm-hmm.
language of England, that sort of thing. So I knew what I went through
Yeah.
in our ends. But did you ever encounter being harassed or anything like that? Because obviously, say I was white and your dad was black and all of those things. I know you touched on the myths, but people your age, did they understand? Did they comprehend? What was their approach towards you?
Well, actually, in Bakau itself, I was kind of in a bubble. Everyone kind of knew the situation or they heard about the situation. So in Bakau itself, I didn't really experience too much. If anything, it was I would get teased more for my skin color, which is crazy. But as far as like her being white, most of the kids in my neighborhood kind of knew, like, I guess from other people telling them.
Mm-hmm.
So the main thing would just be like I would get teased for like when we were playing games outside. I wouldn't. They would be laughing at the way I speak Wolof or Mandinka or Fula or anything.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't really, you know, my dad is respected in that community, so I never really got harassed like
Yeah,
that.
Mr. I know he would he would.
If you know my dad,
If
you
you know,
know.
you know.
Yeah, so I'm unfortunately I was never like harassed
Okay.
due to being adopted or
Okay.
anything.
So what's family like?
Yeah.
Like what's family life like? Having your own child and we were talking about fertility and postpartum and all of those problems that women have as issues, but psychologically, I mean, there in the back of your mind, you said, okay, didn't matter that you were adopted, but once you had your first child, what was that feeling
Right.
like? Like,
So what I always tell people is like I always knew like when I would have my child like deep down, I don't know, this is very so deep down like
feel free,
because
take
I
them
ne- I
wild.
no, deep down, like I know I didn't see anybody that that I knew that was my blood. So I knew I wanted to have children, and with my first child, Aziz, Abdul Aziz, like I couldn't wait to see what he looked like because I'm like, I don't know. Like, sometimes you look in the mirror and you're like, oh, I get my nose from my mom, this and this and that. So I just wanted to see if my child would look anything like me. And obviously he turned out looking like his dad, but
They're
um
not faithful.
I can see
Obviously,
I know.
people want children. Trust me, none of them come
I know,
out
I'm like
like.
9 months I waited and you come out looking like your dad, but I see some features and stuff in all three. Now I have three children, so all three of them I do see some features, but it was a very emotional experience. And actually my mother was there with my first. She saw me give birth, and it was this moment of like,
Yeah,
because she hadn't experienced that,
yeah,
I kind of let her experience it with me. So we experienced it together,
yeah.
which was beautiful and that was very emotional.
Um,
But yeah, it was amazing.
yeah. I've seen that you started your own YouTube channel.
Yes.
I've started to follow. I'm
Thank
loving
you.
Mr. Joof, by the way. He's he's the dream
He's in
come
the
true.
kitchen.
But I'm loving Mr. Joof and how he helps out. Um, what's marriage life like? Like I'm gonna go into I know we're focusing on adoption and all of that, but what is
Right.
it like? As a parent, as and you're filming these short documentaries and things like that. What is life
Right.
like? What's that like?
Well,
What brought that on?
initially I was the one that, did wanted to be on the whole YouTube thing, but he was keen to the idea. I want to touch on the adoption side and going into the marriage. When I first told him I was adopted, he was like, What are you talking about? Like, you're not adopted." I'm like, "Yes, I'm adopted." My mom's white, so he didn't kind of believe. We were very young at the time,
Yeah,
like
you got
20,
married pretty
21.
young, and I was like, hey, I want you to
Yes.
adopt, but then I was like, oh.
Yeah. Yeah, we started very young. So he didn't. I mean, I guess I was the first person he met that was adopted. So he really couldn't believe it. And I'm like, "Well, I'll let you meet my mother." And then he met, and from there, it clicked and everything. The relationship is good, alhamdulillah. But marriage is okay. It was rough in the beginning just because we were so young and
Of course.
immature, and getting married at such a young age, what that comes with. But
You guys, you guys
as
thought
we've
it was just
grown,
gonna be
right, playhouse and all cute, but no, life hit us pretty hard, and we hope we came through it. But throughout the years, we've just become more stronger, and he doesn't even like me being adopted has no
no, yeah,
issues.
of
Like with
course.
his family, my goros, they're very amazing. Like they took me under their wing, and they've treated me like I'm their daughter. So it wasn't, luckily, my story isn't like a really traumatic
No,
drama,
it's not. It doesn't
dramatic
have to
one.
be, and
Yeah.
that's the whole that's the whole that's the whole beauty of your story. I mean,
Right.
I've seen a lot of women that are going through fertility issues, and I've got a friend who recently adopted, and
Okay.
I just feel like, okay, in terms of Gambian women, now we hit menopause quite early. Now
Yeah.
where we've got a high infertility rate. Um,
Yeah.
but one thing that I keep telling women is, if you can't conceive, adopt. If you
Yeah.
are of a certain age and you're mature enough, and hanga, all right, beer outside of wedlock is like, oh, don't have beer out of wedlock, hanga.
Yeah.
Why, if you're lonely and you need hanga, you need something to fill that void, and sometimes the void is not necessarily the man, it's the fact that you want
Yeah.
kids and you want to build a family. So there's no
Right.
point, I just feel like there's no point in waiting, um,
Right.
for the perfect partner to start a
The
family.
right man, or
Sometimes,
yeah.
I might be tailoring my inbox like the best one, but I might be saying things
Yeah.
that people won't understand. But if you reach a certain age and ne monologue or amangulo jekar, I don't feel
Yeah.
any. I don't think it should be even an issue for someone to go out and adopt.
Right.
Give a child a home, and
Right.
that's it. What are your thoughts on something
Yeah.
like that? That's because I don't
How
feel
I
like I'm
look
by
on
myself on it,
it.
but I'm feel like
No, no, I agree. I totally agree. I actually spoke to my mom. By the way, we're like the best of friends. Like I tell her everything she tells me. So I spoke to her before I got on, and I was like, I feel that it's like a blessing it goes both ways. She was able to bless me with her and a beautiful family, and I was able to bless her and give her that chance to raise a child. And she said in Islam, they say if you're able to adopt or raise a child
yeah,
that's
well,
not yours,
yeah,
it's a good thing, it's a blessing. So I feel as if even with my husband, even though we have three biological children, I did, actually we discussed this a couple of weeks ago. I was like, would you be open to adopting like a Gambian child? And he was like, yeah, sure. Like there's nothing wrong with that. So like, once the kids get into school and start getting older, I definitely want to go back home and adopt a child, preferably older,
hmm
just because
you don't want to
I'm not
deal
gonna
with a
have time
crying
to be
baby.
wiping diapers. Yeah, I'm not gonna have time for that. But yeah, like maybe 6, 7, that age or even older, and just give them a home because I feel like it's it's my duty. Like I was adopted and I was raised in a, beautiful family, and I just want to give that to someone else, a child that doesn't have that,
Mhm.
in
Do
their
the
life.
kids ask any
So,
questions?
the other
Aziz
two
looks
are
like
too young.
an active one. That's what I'm asking. Um, do the
Aziz,
kids
he
ask any
he just
questions?
says, when we're talking, he's like, "Which one are you talking about? My white grandma or my black grandma?" So for him, he does. I don't think. I mean, he's just like, that's grandma, and then I have another grandma that's also black. So he just, sees them both as grandma. They love him unconditionally. There's not really much of a
He
difference.
doesn't
When I was
care
younger, I
as
would,
long as
tease him. I'd be like, Aziz, so what color is mommy? She's like black. I was like, so what color is grandma? He's like, she's white. She's white. So he understands she's white, but I explained adoption to him, also at an early age, just so he can, kind of understand as well, because he did go back home to Gambia and was with her for a while. So they created a very close bond. So I'm not going to say that's her favorite, but
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that's Aziz is her, her whole.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah, he might they they're, I don't think they quite understand it, but they're not objective to the idea.
okay. So what's the
Yeah.
it's good that you touched on that. You know how they said
Yeah.
nakalawata yari mom nafti um
Yeah.
your son went to your mom for a while, but do you
Yeah.
feel that you got special privilege because you were adopted? Be honest now, because I remember you, and I remember you. Yeah, you were a lovely girl, but I'm like, okay, maybe she's spoiled.
Um I get that a lot. People are like, "Oh, you're spoiled." Um I Okay, so my brother is also, he was part of the second wife, my dad has a second wife, so he was part of that. But I felt like sometimes he would get punished harder than me or my sister.
Mm-hmm.
We still, would get in trouble and stuff, but he kind of, would get more. Maybe also because he was a boy, but people did tell me that they're like, "You're spoiled," and I'm just like, I didn't feel like I was spoiled. I just felt like,
But you won't feel it because you're
I
just living your best life.
well, I didn't give them any trouble. Like, I wasn't a child that was out, just doing crazy things. Like, I respected my elders in school. I always behaved. So I really wasn't like a troubled child. Maybe if I was, I would have been treated differently. But I could say maybe I was a little spoiled just because,
Just maybe, okay.
my mom was like, "This is my baby and my prize baby and all this stuff." But I guess you could say that. Yeah, I'll just be honest, just a little bit.
What part of religion? Let's talk on religion.
Yeah,
I know you're practicing Muslim, right?
yeah,
Okay. Again, did your mom convert, or was she?
yeah. She was Christian, but when she came to Gambia, she's been in Gambia for over 40
Yeah,
something
yeah,
years.
yeah.
So when she initially came, she wanted to marry, and she converted into Islam. So Islam has always been a part. We grew up Muslim. That's all I know. And yeah, so she adjusted pretty well
Mm-hmm.
to Islam. She raised us as Muslim children, even though her family, they're all Christian, but they also, took us in. And at first she had her struggles with, just the whole, she moving to Africa, having African children. Her family didn't quite take to it as well. But then once they met us and, they saw us as just innocent children, they, took us in. And so I felt love on both ends, American family and my Gambian family. But she's still a practicing Muslim. as of today. And yeah, so the religion really didn't have too much of a negative
No, no,
effect
not the negative.
on,
And the
yeah.
influence of the religion in your home now, like what's that like? Because I
Yeah,
talked to
so
somebody.
my
I'm
children,
just trying to get at that, and I was like, wow, I really love the fact that you know, you showed it on YouTube, and it was nice. It was nice to see
yeah.
that, and
I was hesitant to actually show it because I'm okay with being, on camera and stuff, but I didn't ask, so I didn't want to like tune in. But my in-laws every Friday they have like a dara and a where they discuss different issues in Islam. So we had just done that and it was Tamharid as well. So we were all celebrating as a family, but I love the fact that they and we do incorporate like that family sense and praying together. They say
mhm.
families that pray together stay together. So, yeah, definitely we do pray as a family. My children know that they're Muslim and, they've grown up being Muslim and that's all they know. So,
So talk
yeah,
about the
it's
YouTube channel a bit more, because
okay.
some people are telling me what's the YouTube name and how can they follow. I'm like, so you guys can follow, yeah, go and follow, and meantime you can follow me as well. Gambians are the worst.
Shameless plug. No, we Gambians, honestly, we have to support each other. Like I see in other communities, the Nigerians, the Ghanaians, they support each other. Like I don't
Absolutely.
understand why Gambians just can't. Like for me, I love supporting more so this year with all the Black Lives Matter going on, but we need to support each other. Like go support chat, support me and Google all the other Gambian YouTubers. There's a lot of them
There
out
are
there.
a lot of them out
You
there.
know,
Hmm.
and just like Gambia is a beautiful place, we're beautiful people, and I feel like if we just what is it, japalante,
Yeah,
and yeah, we need to hold each other and bring each other up instead of tearing each other down.
hmm
Especially with I want to talk about like the infertility. Um, there was an incident I had where I had, gone up to one of my friends and I was just joking about, hey, so when are you, having kids and stuff? And then, the person actually took me to the side and explained their situation. So ever since then, I don't like to,
right.
ask those questions to people because you don't know what's going on. Just like my mother, she grew up thinking, she could bear children and you just never know what your circumstances may be. So for the older people, let's try not to always harass the young girls that are married because you never know, people could be trying and just it's not happening as quick.
Hmm.
you know
Hmm.
with my second, it didn't happen when I wanted it to happen. It came on its own. So you can't you don't know everyone's situation, so I don't know, don't pressure people into having kids when you really don't know.
No,
And
exactly. I
I
think,
want to
yeah, exactly. My
go ahead.
this is the whole. Um, Gambians need to understand that they need to know where to stop. I feel
Right.
like we need to stop pressurizing people into um, certain situations. Like Kenya say, after the wedding, it's like Kenya I'm dumb, okay? Kenya kokude amraka. Things like that. It's so
Yeah.
annoying. It's like, could you please shut up? Like I literally just want to tell them that. But when
Yeah.
we talk about fertility in Gambia, I mean, the men as well, Gambians tend to forget about the men. I'm not going to dwell too much into it because I did a whole show about it last time. But
Right.
Gambian men, tamit, then you want to hold that and over. The fertility issue
Exactly.
is not always with them. So, or with us, sorry. They play a role as well that they tend to not want to acknowledge.
Exactly.
But when it comes to how can I put it? When it comes to women and fertility, there's so much pressure. There was so much unnecessary pressure. So the whole point of this show today was to, just to make women feel like it's okay to adopt. and you never
Right.
know, what kind of, you never know na mun nga jur sax.
Yeah.
Am na ñoo xam ne dañoo say for years, and duñ mën a jur doom. SOS,
Exactly.
all these datas and things like that. There are people that haven't even registered their kids that do want to provide a good home for their children, but they can't afford it.
Right.
Sometimes the person next door to you might want their child to grow up a certain way, and you can't afford it.
Mm.
Or
Yeah.
young talk, say law, young ega a certain age, it's okay to adopt. That is the whole point
Yeah.
of this discussion, and I'm glad you've come on board and talked about it and things like that. Um, but yeah, that's uh,
Your take on
my
it.
take on it, and
Yeah.
yeah, and that's I mean, even when it comes to, like, you were raised by a white mom, and the cultures are different as well. That's another thing. Most of Gambia
I
has
mean,
this
that's
stigma.
it was actually a positive for me.
Exactly.
I'm sorry to interrupt,
Ex-
but it's like I was raised from two different cultures, so I was very open-minded.
mhm,
I'm not racist.
mhm.
I have friends from all different walks of life, and I I know some people say they don't see color, but I honestly don't. I see the person as who they are, and I don't judge by your skin tone. Just and I love the fact that I was raised, in two different cultures because I take some of what my mom, how she raised me and then how my dad raised me, Gambian. And I kind of combine that and raise my children. So, like, the more American mentality is, you talk to your children, you talk about sex, you talk about different things that, normally Gambian parents, they're like, oh, we don't talk about that. It just, when it comes, it happens.
Mhm.
So I incorporated more of that American style of parenting, and then there's some Gambian ways where I'm like, not saying that African Americans don't respect, but we're very big on respect and,
Mhm.
you know, sutural, and all that.
Mhm.
So I took part of that culture and I kind of combined it together, and that's how me and my husband raised our children.
Which is
So,
perfect. I mean, which is absolutely perfect. So what's in for the juice at the moment? Like, what should we look forward to on your YouTube channel and things like that?
well, there'll be a more in-depth story of like my
So
actual
you're holding
adoption
back on me.
story.
Yeah, you said that
No,
already.
no,
So
no, no.
I know.
I
Oh, exactly.
honestly
My content
appreciate
never been
you.
to have a YouTube
Like,
channel, so you should go and follow my channel to understand.
no, no. That all that means is there's gonna be a part two of this. So that's all it means. I'm so
I feel
appreciative
so
of you,
used.
chat. Like, you opened up. I've been wanting to tell my story to the world. Because people will ask sometimes, like on Mother's Day, I'll post her and they'll be like, "Who is this?" And I'll explain it to people individually. But now that you've given me this platform to tell people, about adoption
Now
and
you're trying
stuff,
to
which
sugarcoat
I'm
the
very
pain.
grateful. Chat, chat, bulmaru slow way.
Now you're trying to make me feel better. Okay. I didn't get the whole
Yeah.
story, but I got some of it.
I
No,
mean,
I
the
understand.
the
I
main
understand.
the main storyline is adoption is okay. You people that are out there contemplating, adopting, it's okay. Like, it's not a my mom and sister are trying to call in. A child is blessing you, so it's a blessing that goes both ways. And even if you can't afford it, um you can some people can look into, well, in Gambia they don't really do it, but sheltering, like, let's say if it's a child that another person cannot afford or whatever, you can take that child in or help that family.
Support
But
them.
I just want to share my story and let you know that adoption is beautiful. I myself am planning on adopting a child, inshallah, down the road. But as far as my YouTube channel, it's gonna be just laughs, and I just wanted to portray a Gambian family, young Gambian family, in a positive light,
Hmm.
and
Which is
just
important.
show the
Which
world
is
that,
important
yeah,
because
yeah, we
like
incorporate.
right now the rate of divorce is going up, and I saw a few things. You guys need to follow this channel to understand what I'm saying here. But
Yeah.
a lot of families, or a lot of people are breaking up, and divorce is on the high. But one thing that I loved about your husband was the fact that he was supportive. You can actually see him
Hmm.
doing chores and
Yeah.
cooking, and it's important that Gambian men come off that high horse and actually get involved with playtime and storybook time, and activities going out, rather than galige Monday to Saturday, Sunday Bianca spending nelaw, because that's most
Yeah.
of the
Or
Gambian
set
men.
time
That's what
football
they
all
do.
day.
So it's yeah. So for me, I feel like your channel is the perfect eye opener to a different type of family. And when I say different, I mean
Yeah.
different in a very good way. You guys come from different
Right.
walks of life, but you complement each other.
Right.
And you got
Right.
married very young, which is, I'm proud of you for doing that. I admire you for doing that. Unlike us, we waited a while.
Yala monu dimbale.
Uh,
Hey, that was mana yala monu dimbale, but
it was
it was
tough. You
it
mentioned
was
over the phone you went through some
yeah.
postpartum, not to dampen the spirit, postpartum
Yeah.
depression at one point. Can you just tell us about your experience with that? Because most Gambian women don't actually know what it is. They might be going through it
Yes.
and they don't know what it is.
Don't know what it is. So I'm, don't quote me because I
No,
don't
no, no,
know
no,
the
no,
full
no, no, no.
dictionary
It's a free
terms,
space. It's free.
but I know they say like the baby blues. I did experience it with my first and a little bit with my last Aminata, but um it's just, you kind of go through this depression. Your body is not how you want it to be after you have a child. You kind of feel off. Your hormones are like crazy, and it was sometimes where I don't want my goros thinking I didn't take care of my child, because I did.
No, you.
And my husband definitely pitched in, but it was times where I didn't feel like picking up the baby. I would just be in such a just such a bad mood where I didn't feel like doing anything like at
Yeah,
all. I
it's
just
a
wanted
lot
to
to
stay
deal
in
with.
bed, and yeah, like just it was thankfully it was a short period of time, and I snapped out of it, and woke up and like, hey, I have to do this. But I was also going through a lot of severe pain, and it was just my hormones were out of whack. And it's something that you shouldn't be ashamed of. You shouldn't be ashamed to talk about. It
How it
happens.
is.
Us women, we've gone through a traumatic 9 months of carrying a
Of
child.
course.
That's not easy, you know. And then the labor, some labors are more difficult than others. Thankfully mine wasn't too hard, but some women go through a lot. I just recently saw on Facebook there was a lady that passed away from Buckout.
Exactly.
She had twins, and
Chapo.
labor is not easy.
Mm-hmm.
It's a near death experience for for a lot of us,
Mm-hmm.
and the pain that we indwell, it can take a toll on your body,
And
especially,
mental
I've
health.
had 3 kids, so
And your mental
yeah,
health.
you just mental health as well. It was, I just kind of went through a dark time in the beginning stages, but luckily I had someone there to support me. And when he could see that, and I explained it to him, I was like, it's not that I don't love my child and stuff. I'm just not where I want to be,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't feel right now, so just help me with the child. So he did. He stepped in, and I'm back, doing great. But it's something that I feel like we need more platforms, and I'm glad that you're sharing this, because they don't talk about it in our
They
culture.
don't. They don't.
So
And one thing that they don't also talk about is how okay, you know how you can have a child in Gambia and everybody has some form of contribution of how to do this. Ningo ko defe, nalingo ko defe. Just Lolo alone can drive you crazy. Um,
yeah.
everybody has an opinion on how to carry your child, how to pick them up, buko boteni, buko defeni, and I just want a lot of moms to know that there is no special formula to parenting.
There isn't.
There isn't, and there's no special
There isn't.
formula to have a child as well. It's all
No.
about how much you can carry and how much love you have to give.
Yeah.
So, regardless of whether, I mean, I've heard of women that go into depression even after adopting as well. That's another thing that people don't
Yeah.
understand. It's a new
Right.
territory. You've never seen that,
Right.
Juruloko, but Sumo Joy, you feel like,
Yeah.
when is this child going to stop crying? How am I supposed to
Right.
do this? How am I supposed to do that? And those are still questions that even if you do give birth, you still question yourself
Hmm.
about. Like,
Right.
if you understand, am I making sense? Like,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter
I
if,
can actually
eh?
touch on that. You can go ahead, but I have a little story that she did tell me, that I do want to share. So because my grandmother was Gambian and we had another, her daughter, I think it's her niece was there as well. So it was actually three different women at the time when I was born that were Gambian.
Mm-hmm.
A teacher, she was working, so my grandmother helped, and I think Yasin from Jalo Kunda. I don't know if
Yasin,
you
yeah,
know
yeah,
Mr.
yeah,
Jalo.
yeah, 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 Yasin Jalo.
Yasin actually was there when I was younger, and she helped raise me. Not raise me, but she helped, take care of me when my mother was at work. And I know she would tell me like, I don't know if she's gonna know who's the mother because they're black and I'm white. But she said I
And I'm
always
confused with
she
Jibado.
when I would cry, I would always go, want to go to her.
Yeah.
So she was a little worried, and I told her, well, I was the same way,
Mm-hmm.
with Aziz. I didn't know if he would know if I'm the mother, being that I have my husband's family here as well. So that's not something that only adopted mother would, you know,
Mm-hmm.
experience.
Mm-hmm.
I also was the same way. I was like, I hope my child loves me, and all these worries that we have.
Exactly.
How can I be the best parent? You do the best that you
You do
can.
the
You
best that
you
you can.
know, everyone is raised different.
Mm-hmm.
So you just unconditional love, you treat them, with respect as well. Gambians, they tend to say, oh, the child is not right, I'm right, and that's how it goes.
Yeah.
But you have to
That's
listen
another
to the
thing.
child and listen to their needs.
I mean, I saw. I don't know if I saw what I saw right, but I didn't even want to read the article. It was about a young girl that committed suicide because her father abused her at such a young
Yeah.
age, and I think it was in What's on Gambia or something like that. And I was just
Hmm.
like, this is what I am talking about: narcissistic, psychotic parents that want to enforce certain rules on their kids. Eventually, there is a breaking point, and some kids
Right.
can't endure it. You need to
No.
compliment your kids once in a while. It's like the culture. How
Right.
can culture exist? You don't tell your
Yeah.
kids that they're doing a good job. They don't see you praise them. I mean, I'm not saying smother them with compliments, but
Yeah.
hanga, make them feel that they're in a safe place, that they're loved.
Right.
Um, and
And
that
that they
is
can
something
come to
that's
you when
lacking
they're,
in our
dealing
community.
with something.
It is.
Yeah.
Even like Dorebi, so Dore had a Ziyage about Dirki. You understand what that means, right?
Yeah.
Because,
Yeah.
well, Dirki. The man like that, he like,
Yeah.
you
No,
know, it,
understand.
there are so many parenting issues and concerns that we have as parents now that maybe soon yaya soon papa down in Kohelat. Now I'm worried.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm worried about my son getting raped or abused or whatnot, just as much as I'm thinking about my daughter being raped and
Right.
abused in the same way. So I
Yeah.
want to show my kids that, you know what, we are proud of you. I love you and all of that. But
Right.
right now, the way things are going, I see kids being raped and things like that. And I'm like, what is Gambian doing in terms of parenting? Uh,
And it's very hush hush.
it's
Even if
very
the
hush hush.
child
The
is raped,
silent
they
culture.
tend to tell the child to keep quiet and don't say anything. And no, that's not right,
Exactly, exactly,
So,
exactly. So,
Yeah, we just
final words on parenting, and then we'll try and wrap it up. My show's like an hour, so yeah.
okay.
Hmm.
I'm sorry, you said to do what?
I said.
Chad, it's a little early for me
I
here.
know, this is why I'm like,
No, I'm
I'm so
kidding.
thankful you're on, but yeah. Are you up?
I'm up.
um, what are your final words on adoption and your final words
Okay.
before you go? Hopefully we'll have you back on, but I'll probably try and squeeze you into the couples edition
Okay.
soon. So, but yeah,
That should be exciting.
it should be
Um,
exciting.
final words. I'm a product of adoption. I like to say I came out, you know, a strong woman, a respected woman. I love my life. I don't have any regrets as to anything, that happened growing up. I actually tell my husband and children my life in Gambia was like, I wouldn't trade it for the world. And I kind of wish my children would have grown up in Gambia
Mhm.
because it was just it was just an experience that I'll never forget. And I feel like it created that strong foundation for me. My parents, although, they were new to the adoption and, raising children, but they did their best and they created a grounded foundation for all of their children
Mhm.
to be strong, outspoken children, and just respected and respect others. If you are thinking about adoption, do it. You
Do it,
know,
yeah.
is there's there's nothing that could go. It could go wrong, but just don't treat it as, oh, it's a sad situation. Or when I sometimes would tell people, oh, I'm adopted, they'll be like, oh, and I'm like, what? It's not sad. Like, I'm happy. I was in a happy family. I'm loved, and I love my parents greatly, and I appreciate them and all that they've done for me. So just try that option and see, or just go and consult people. And if you have any questions, I'm free, I'm open to answer. If you privately want to message me, my email is jenabas91@gmail.com.
I'll put it in
I'm
the
also on
description
YouTube.
section.
Okay.
Yeah.
Growing with Juve TV on YouTube, and then I'm on Instagram and Snapchat as well. So if you have any questions, feel free to shoot,
And please,
a
Gambia,
question. I'll
feel
be
free to
happy.
follow her. I can't say subscribe anymore. Like, yo,
Yes,
no, it's like you literally have to
yeah.
force their finger to be like, subscribe, subscribe. But
Subscribe. Yeah. Don't just watch the video, hit that like button. And if you see something you like, comment. Don't be
exactly,
shy. It's free. It's
exactly,
free. No charge.
exactly.
No dollars, no dollars, no pounds.
No
It's
opportunity.
free. Okay? It's free. Just tap. But Chad, thank you for having me on your
It's my
platform.
pleasure, and
This
it's
is
good to connect
giving
again.
me, yes, yes. Greet your family for
I
me, and
will.
thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Thank you
All
so
right.
much for joining us.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.
So that was Jenna Bajoof. I was really excited about this interview today because it just shed a lot of light on um, adoption in Gambia and how it can work as an option for parenting if you are unable to conceive, or maybe you just feel like she said, supporting, um, doing care work, or supporting someone that can't financially or afford um, to raise a child. It's part of our religions. What is wrong with me? It's part of all our religions, Christianity, Islam, across the board. We are, we as Gambians, we are people that share love. I want to believe that that culture is still there and that it still exists. Um, which will bring me to what I wanted to say about the rains. I'm going to drift into that now. I feel like while Gambia, this is off topic of adoption. waa Banjul dama feel like it's high time ñu jox more religious leaders a platform to pour ñu wax ak nit ñi, because mbir mi dafa doy waar fi mu nekk nii. Gambia right now, doy na waar. People are crying. People are seeing death numbers go up like they've never seen it before. Mentally and emotionally, we need some reassurance that our leaders or our religious, I'm not talking just about Islam, Tamit. I must repeat this. We need positive advice from our elders to sustain what is going on in Gambia. That was one. And number two, ndox bi bari na. And it's raining quite a lot, and people need to know that their neighbors are okay. It's part of humanity. It's being human to show some form of support for your neighbors. Xamal si lan la nekka. Yow di nga tëdd si néeg bu am AC wala fan yàlla xewal na la loolu, may na la loolu, waaye am na koo xam ne mu ngi nekka next door wala opposite wala nekka si sa area, taw bi mu ngi wàcc si kawam ak jabootam, ndax yaa ngi xelaat kooku, ndax nan ngay def bu sa dëkkandoor si waaru loolu. What are we doing for our neighbors? We need to put that into consideration. And I think that's it for today. I'll be back on I'll be back on Thursday. And this week's this week's theme is comic relief. How funny is the average Gambian? Are we funny enough? Do we have a sense of humor? What is going on with our comic relief department? Why are we so stressed out? Why are we not laughing as much? All of those things. We need to stop being, what's that song by Attack? Dangal bi ngeen war a bàyyi ngeen jéem a dunda tuuti. Xol yi duñ dee neex, waaye ku nekka war nga am fooy mun a toog nga bégal sa xol, nga reetaan tuuti, nga am jàmm tuuti. So let's try and spread that love, and I'll be back on Thursday, inshallah. And yeah, thank you for joining me. I am Chad with the Chit Chat with Chad. See you on Thursday.